After Marcus confessed his affair of 6 months, I drafted the divorce agreement in just 40 minutes and packed all his luggage. He agreed to a lump sum payment of $20 million as compensation and child support, with the house, the car, and our son all coming to me. He signed it without much hesitation. I had wanted to end this marriage amicably, if his mistress hadn't lost her patience and provoked me. In the photo, Marcus was shirtless, sleeping in a hotel room, with a woman's hand resting on his chest. The red date in the bottom right corner read February 16, 2023, 2 years ago. At that moment, Marcus was on a conference call. He looked down, saw the words divorce agreement, and his expression shifted imperceptibly before he nodded in understanding. I left the room, and to save us both time, I packed all of Marcus's clothes and luggage, filling 3 suitcases. Fearing I might miss something, I even included his childhood photos from the attic. Finally, I saw our wedding photo in the corner. In it, Marcus had handsome features, and I smiled sweetly as we embraced freely under the sun. Back then, he would often hold me and whisper, "Honey, I love you so much. I'm so lucky to have married you." Marcus and I met in college. When I met him, he was a poor student wearing worn canvas shoes. Many pursued me then, but I fell in love with Marcus at first sight. He was calm, kind, handsome, and had countless virtues. After graduation, we naturally got married. He and a friend started the company, and after I became pregnant, I became a stay-at-home mom, dedicating myself to Marcus, our family, and our son. As the business grew, Marcus's business dinners and networking events increased. I made time for fitness and learned makeup and styling amidst my busy, fragmented life. Marcus didn't disappoint. No matter how busy he was, he would come home, play with Leo, cook, and help me manage the relationship with his in-laws. To outsiders, we were a model couple. I don't know when it started, but Marcus began scheduling meetings at night, sometimes staying out all night. Friends would tease me. "Don't let anything happen, keep a close eye on him." I'd say no, but deep down I was still worried, so I brought late-night food to Marcus and his colleagues a few times. There was nothing unusual. They were just having a meeting. That woman waited at the front desk. Her name was Brenda, in her 40s, not tall, slender, with short hair. She looked unremarkable, but her voice was surprisingly gentle. She smiled and greeted me. After all these years, I had thought about this day. Imagined it might be the company's beautiful secretary, or a vibrant college student, or even a formidable female boss from a partnership. The only one I overlooked was her, the front desk receptionist. I heard she had been married before, and her husband had cheated on her, leading to their divorce. This was her first job after her divorce, and she treasured it greatly. She would arrive early at the company, note everyone's little habits, and occasionally bring pastries. Some colleagues even arranged their lunches with her for convenience. When I found out, I even told Marcus that she had it tough and asked him to look out for her. Marcus always said indifferently, "The company isn't a place for sentiment. I've already advised against transactions outside of work." Back then, I even joked that Marcus, as the boss, was heartless. Now I realize he probably felt bad for Brenda, who went home after work every day to cook takeout for her colleagues. As for why Marcus chose today to talk about divorce, it was simply because I made him a strong coffee as usual that morning after his hangover. He looked at the drink in front of him, sighed, pushed it slightly away, and remained silent for a long time. Then he suddenly looked up at me, his eyes tired, and asked if we could get a divorce. He confessed he had been having an affair for 6 months, taking time out to meet his mistress every time he worked late. My heart trembled violently, and I tried hard to control myself from breaking down, asking who it was. When he said Brenda, I even wondered if I had heard him wrong. A sense of powerlessness washed over me, cold and chilling. By the time Marcus finished his meeting, I had already eaten, cleaned the kitchen, and was sitting in the living room watching TV, as if nothing had happened. He went to shower, and halfway through, he realized he had no towel. He instinctively called out from the bathroom, "Honey, where's my bath towel?" I didn't turn around. It was already in the suitcase. I said, "If you don't mind, use mine for now. I'll throw it out later." The response was a long silence. When Marcus came out, he saw the 3 suitcases in the entryway. He sat opposite me and pushed the divorce agreement across with his fingertips, saying, "I can give you $15 million for child support up front, and the rest monthly." I cut him off. "No need. A lump sum payment will do. I don't think you'd want to contact me again anyway." Marcus's eyes showed confusion. "Leo isn't just your son. I have the right to be part of his growth too. I know this is my fault, and I'm willing to compensate, but you don't need to use Leo as leverage." I paused the TV and looked earnestly at Marcus. The affair is your fault, so your compensation and child support are reasonable. Compared to your assets, the house and car aren't much. I've raised Leo since he was little. He's a sensitive and high-needs child. While you're busy with your new romance, how much energy do you have for him? Being part of his growth isn't just about money, it's about time and presence. Marcus was left speechless. After a moment he spoke. Anyway, I won't use a 20 million lump sum payment to buy out our father-son relationship. I reached over and opened the divorce agreement. 20 million was for compensation and child support. If he had other emotional needs, he could transfer money to Leo, and I would open a separate account for him. Marcus suddenly let out a laugh. Grace Miller, I never knew you loved money so much. All you talk about is money. What else was there? Was loving you useful? He was so stunned he didn't say another word. With a dark expression, he smoothly pulled out a pen, signed the divorce agreement, and then scheduled a time for us to apply for divorce at the clerk's office tomorrow. Afterward, he called his driver. I finished watching my show and went to sleep. When I woke up in the morning, Marcus had already left. Leo ran out of his room, hugging me and excitedly saying, I had a super happy dream last night. Listening to him share, I tentatively told him, Dad has been very busy at the company lately and might be away on a business trip for a long time. My son, uncharacteristically, didn't ask to call Marcus like he usually would or when Dad would be back. He just said oh, pursed his little lips and added, It's okay, I have Mom to keep me company. I couldn't hold back anymore. Tears welled up and spilled over, and I excused myself to the bathroom to compose myself. Agreeing to divorce Marcus, aside from the sadness, my greatest regret was failing my son, depriving him of a complete family. But I knew I wasn't to blame for that. That morning, after dropping Leo off at school, Marcus and I went to the clerk's office to apply for a cooling-off period. We could finalize the divorce in 30 days. Back in the car, I circled the date on my calendar, marking today, 30 days until the divorce. I hesitated about whether to tell my parents the news now. I grew up in this city and all our relatives and friends are in this city. My parents are retired teachers. I'm their only daughter, and they're very open-minded. It's just that my dad hasn't been well for the past 2 years, and I had originally wanted to wait. A couple of days later, Marcus called. He rarely called me. Usually he'd send texts because I always replied promptly, which he found convenient. I had deleted his texts last night. I answered. Marcus's voice sounded normal. Your mom just called me, saying she cooked a lot tonight, and wants us to come over for dinner. I thought, since your dad isn't well, we could wait until he recovers to tell him about the divorce. What time do you want to come over? Still hesitating, hearing Marcus's words, I decided to tell my parents the news. I replied, No need, Marcus. You don't have to put on a brave face. Their health is important. My dad isn't well, but he's sharp as ever, and I don't think he'd want me to continue an unfaithful marriage. Marcus started to say something else, but I cut him off. Don't call again. If you want to see Leo, follow the agreement. Once a week. At that, Marcus dropped his negotiating tone. Grace Miller, I'll say it again. Leo is my son, my family, but you're giving up on his home, aren't you? Finally, I heard Marcus heavily hang up the phone. I promptly hung up, collected my shattered emotions, and decided to drive to the mall. I planned to replace all the bedding, the sofa, and all the furniture Marcus liked with new, in-stock items. Once everything was replaced, I cleaned the house thoroughly, then went to my mom's place. She saw I wasn't with Marcus and assumed he was busy. I remained silent, a bit nervous, and called out Mom. She immediately sensed something was wrong, put down what she was doing, looked at me, and gently pulled me into a hug. I didn't say anything, but a mother can feel her child's emotions and distress. I tried to tell her calmly. My mom handed me a tissue, telling me to wipe my tears. Her voice was very soft. It's okay, divorce is quite common now. He wasn't honest, doing something like this. It's better to know sooner rather than later. If you're divorced, you're divorced. She paused, her eyes welling up a bit, and held my hand. Grace, Mom has only one request for you. She repeated, her eyes moistening, and gripped my hand. Since you've decided to divorce, no matter what, never get back together. I cried and nodded. Okay. After dinner, my mom and my dad talked for a long time in their room. When they came out, my dad handed me a generous cash gift. He said today was a new beginning, worth celebrating, and hoped his precious daughter would always be happy. Coming out of my dad's place, I cried for a long time in the car. Before coming, I was always afraid of disappointing them. They'd barely argued their entire lives, always harmonious and loving. When I married Marcus, everyone disapproved, but they said they respected my decision. Now Marcus had made a name for himself, and everyone was envious, saying my parents had good judgment. Yet they still openly supported my divorce. I wiped away my tears, looked at the calendar, and saw 28 days until the divorce. When I picked Leo up from school, he said Grandpa Henry had called him and missed him, asking if he could stay at Grandpa Henry's for a week. I was surprised for a moment, then took Leo home to pack a small overnight bag. He was so happy, saying Grandpa Henry promised to take him to play with his drone. After dropping Leo off, my mom accompanied me out saying, "Cheer up, honey, go out for a stroll." When I got in the car, my mom stood there watching me, not going inside for a long time. I opened the car mirror, looking at my pale face and low spirits. I picked up my makeup and applied a vibrant lipstick. I went back, packed my things, and traveled for a week. I hastily saw many people and sights, heard many stories along the way, and returned feeling much better. I looked at the calendar. 21 days until the divorce. I returned just in time for my dad's birthday. This year, they planned to hold it at a hotel and invite relatives and friends to gather. The hotel was not far from home, with 5 tables in total, all familiar relatives and friends. Many asked about Marcus. Thankfully, Leo had an extracurricular class today and wasn't there. Neither my dad nor my mom answered directly. Just before dinner started, my dad went on stage to speak, and that's when Marcus arrived. He was dressed in a suit, carrying several gift bags and a generous cash gift. Relatives and friends greeted him one after another. He waited for my dad to come down and handed him the cash gift. "Dad, happy birthday." My dad glanced at it indifferently and said, "Mr. Parker, there's no need to be so polite. Please keep the cash gift. After all, you and Grace are already divorced. I wouldn't want you to go to any trouble." Marcus's face froze instantly, and the relatives and friends gasped in surprise, then quickly fell silent. His voice was very soft. "It's still just in the agreement." My dad shook his head. "It's all the same, means the same thing." Then he turned and invited everyone to eat and drink. Marcus stood there, his hand gripping the gift bags. My mom politely returned the other items. He didn't linger and left. Seeing him leave, the relatives and friends understood without words not to mention Marcus again. No one would ask me about him anymore, which was good. My mood was gradually recovering, accepting the reality, and letting it sink in. I shed the title of Mrs. Parker, resuming my identity as Grace Miller. The company's building staff and my housekeeper also got the news from somewhere. They no longer called me Mrs. Parker but Grace. I quickly wanted to keep myself busy and decided to open a coffee shop. Coincidentally, a shop was up for transfer, and I was quite satisfied with the decor and location, so I signed the lease directly. All the employees were still there, so it could continue operating, but I wanted to take time to adjust the menu and recipes, change the storefront and tables and chairs, and tentatively plan for a soft opening. After a busy day finalizing the plan at the shop, I planned to go home. I glanced at the calendar in the car. 15 days until the divorce. As soon as I arrived downstairs, a young woman named Chloe from Marcus's company called me. She was cheerful, easygoing, and very likable. She asked if I was busy, and when she learned I wasn't, she immediately started to vent to me, asking if I was divorcing Marcus. I didn't hide it. She then asked if it was because of Brenda. I wasn't sure why she said that. It felt like Marcus might have made it public. Seeing my silence, Chloe wailed miserably. "Grace, I knew it was because of that woman. No wonder you haven snacks lately. I miss you so much." Before, when Marcus and I were together, snacks to thank them. And colleagues often joked they'd work there forever just to eat Mrs. Parker snacks. I said, "It's okay, I'm about to open a coffee shop. When you come, I'll treat you." Chloe gasped and eagerly asked for the address. I told her I'd send it later. She said okay and continued to vent. "You don't know that Brenda. After you stopped coming, she went directly from the front desk to the operations manager, and her attitude towards everyone changed. She used to smile at everyone, but now she's constantly looking for trouble, and she can't hide the smug look on her face. She even bought dresses and high heels similar to yours. Anyone could see what kind of taste Mr. Parker has. She finally said if she didn't have a mortgage, she'd quit just to avoid having to deal with someone's attitude." I arrived at my doorstep, listening to Chloe still talking. I comforted her for a while, and she finally hung up reluctantly. By now, I seemed to have no desire to know anything about Brenda. Unlike that moment when Marcus told us about the affair, when I desperately wanted to figure out what kind of charm he had. Pushing open the door, I unexpectedly saw Marcus's shoes. He was playing video games with Leo. Leo saw me and excitedly shouted, "Mom, come quickly, play with us. We'll defeat Dad together." Usually, at this point, Marcus would lift Leo and make him laugh non-stop, then come to playfully catch me, and the whole house would be filled with laughter. Now Marcus coughed, ruffled Leo's hair, and said, "Mom has been out all day. She's very tired. How about next time?" Leo said, "Okay, Dad, when will you stop going on business trips?" Marcus thought for a moment, then quietly said, "Soon," and urged Leo to go to bed. After a busy day at the coffee shop, I had no energy left for pleasantries with him. I told him to close the door quietly on his way out. He said he had promised Leo he would sleep with him tonight. I didn't say anything more. As soon as I closed the bedroom door, I heard Marcus's phone ring in the living room. He answered and repeated a few things, then lowered his voice, sounding slightly annoyed. "I told you I only came home to be with Leo. What are you so afraid of? We've already finalized the divorce. How many times do I have to say it? We're not sleeping in the same room." Finally, I heard Marcus hang up the phone. He came over and knocked on my door, saying something urgent came up at the company, and he had to go back. He would make time to see Leo tomorrow. I didn't open the door, speaking in a voice loud enough to be heard. However, Marcus, who was still outside the door, heard me. Before he even left, I received a notification that Leo's bank account had an extra 50,000 transferred, with a note saying I should treat Leo to something nice tomorrow. I didn't reply to him. I opened my computer, looking at the coffee shop's plans, when a text message from an unknown number popped up. No words, just a smiling emoji. His profile picture was a bouquet of flowers, and clicking on it showed a plain background, with no posts on social media. I couldn't even remember when I added this person. Looking at the chat page, it was 2 years ago. He was reminiscing, and then he threw out a sentence. "You must be very pleased with yourself, aren't you?" Almost instantly, I felt this person was Brenda. But Brenda had only been at Marcus's company for 6 months, so why would she have my texts from 2 years ago? Had this account been secretly monitoring my life for the past 2 years? I gasped and replied with a question mark. The other person typed quickly, "No matter what you do to keep him, I can make him come over immediately." It was Brenda indeed. That meant Marcus had known Brenda for 2 years, or even longer. Brenda sent a photo. I clicked it open and saw Marcus shirtless, sleeping in a hotel room, with a woman's hand resting on his chest. The red date in the bottom right corner read February 16th, 2023. I stared at the photo. A wave of discomfort hit my chest, and nausea washed over me. I violently threw up into the trash can on the floor. February 16th, 2023. That was the day of my dad's first surgery after he became unwell. Throughout February, Marcus was very busy, constantly on business trips, to be with me when he returned. He even postponed several meetings, gently comforting me via video call the whole time, telling me not to worry. I couldn't sleep due to anxiety, so Marcus stayed on video call with me all night. With great difficulty, he managed to rush back early on February 16th to wait with me outside the operating room. Yet, on that day, even when he was incredibly busy, he still found time to sleep with Brenda. How could he come back and face me with a clear conscience? Seeing I didn't reply, Brenda became even more smug, sending several more photos, all marked with dates. Our wedding anniversary, Leo's birthday. Each time he would spend time with Brenda first, then rush back to be with us. A profound disgust spread from my chest, consuming my pain. Yes, I had originally thought Marcus had grown tired of us over the past 6 months, that he disliked our peaceful, mundane life, or that he had found true love in middle age. It turned out it had rotted away long ago. I went to the bathroom to wash my face, then returned to my computer and saved each piece of evidence. I knew Brenda dared to send them because the 20 million from the divorce agreement hadn't been fully paid yet. In the past half month, Marcus had gradually transferred 8 million, with 12 million still outstanding. He said it might take some time. The house and car were already in my name, mortgage-free, and the agreement clearly stated his consent, so there would be no disputes. If I made a scene now, affecting Marcus's company, she, enraged, would only cause me to suffer more loss than gain. And Leo would completely lose his father. When Marcus suggested divorce because of his affair, he might have expected me to cry and make a scene, but I valued dignity too much to make a scene at the company. However, Brenda hadn't expected me to be so quick to agree. I didn't make a fuss, didn't even confront Marcus. And this went beyond her expectations. She knew whoever caused a scene first would lose, but one thing was strange. Brenda could be with Marcus for so long, hiding so well, even pretending to be an innocent good person for 6 months at the company. Why did she suddenly become so impatient? Clearly, in another half-month, Marcus and I would be completely separated. Yet she caused a scene just because Marcus went home to spend time with Leo. I checked the time. It wasn't too late. I called Chloe. She was having dinner with a few colleagues from her department, gossiping about Marcus and Brenda. They exchanged information. It turned out Marcus had too much to drink at a business dinner half a month ago, and the female CEO of the partner company personally drove him home. Afterward, that woman even privately asked Marcus out a few times. Plus, I hadn't been bringing afternoon coffee, so everyone guessed Marcus and I had argued, and he was about to be single again. With this spreading, young women with ulterior motives rushed to throw themselves at Marcus. That's when Brenda couldn't sit still anymore. Chloe said, "Grace, you're so good. I really don't want to hide anything from you. Please don't be sad. Mr. Parker is handsome, but he's such a jerk. You'll definitely meet a better man. No wait, men are nothing. Grace, you'll definitely reach the peak of your career. Your coffee shop will be a huge success, and then you can think about men." Huh. My spirits, which had been low, were lifted by Chloe's teasing. I thanked her and hung up. I saw it was past midnight. The reminder on my calendar was particularly clear. 14 days until the divorce. Combining Chloe's words, I understood why Brenda was so anxious, why she made Marcus move her to the operations department, and the reason for her change in attitude. Marcus and I were about to divorce, and she was supposed to successfully take over. But now, others were getting the news and flocking to him, all equally qualified and offering a sense of novelty. She was afraid of a sure thing slipping away. She felt a sense of crisis and needed to use an overt display of power to warn off others interested in Marcus. This past half-month probably wasn't the first time she'd caused a scene. Forcing Marcus to leave tonight was likely her realizing she had gone too far. So he had just tried to use those photos to provoke me, to get me to confront Marcus, and let Marcus see me losing my temper, to shift the blame to me. Before she sent these nasty messages, I truly didn't want to deal with her anymore. Since she insisted on being disgusting, I would grant her wish. I neither blocked her, nor kept her blocked. The first thing I did was arrange to have dinner with Marcus. He seemed a bit stunned, then agreed. The restaurant was the place where Marcus first took me for my birthday, near the college town. Back then it was a small diner. Now it had doubled in size and business was thriving. Marcus's luxury car looked out of place parked outside, next to the old-fashioned streets. This was the best Marcus, over a decade ago, could afford to treat me to. He had saved up his part-time earnings for a long time to buy me a necklace and brought me here for dinner. I looked at Marcus, impeccably dressed in a suit opposite me, and the sincere young man from my memory overlapped, then faded away. I didn't ask for a private room. I specifically chose a table by the window on the street, where the sunlight was beautiful. No one spoke. After ordering, Marcus expertly set the table for me. During dinner, Marcus kept saying the taste wasn't quite right, and even called the owner over. When he learned the owner's father was still cooking, he was slightly surprised but didn't say more. I took a piece of a spicy beef dish, and actually found the taste the same as always, smiling as I said he had changed. Marcus asked, "Did I?" I said, "Of course Mr. Parker has seen and tasted too much over the years. He no longer finds this small diner's food good. But I still think the taste is the same as it was back then." Marcus paused his chopsticks and looked at me. After a moment of silence he said, "Grace Miller, I'm sorry." I gave a bitter smile. People have moved on. I should learn from you on that point. Marcus slowly said, "You said you didn't want to ask anything. If I asked, would you tell me the truth?" I said, "You were fooling around with Brenda on the day of my father's surgery." Marcus couldn't speak. He was silent, slowly sighed, and then asked if something was wrong. I stated plainly that I needed a sum of money recently, and asked if he could transfer the $12 million to me as soon as possible. Marcus said, "Even if you came to me for money today, I'm happy. After all these years, I didn't realize I had moved on, and you were still stuck in place. I'll transfer the money to you as soon as possible. Feel free to contact me for any help you need in the future." After Marcus left, I went to the front desk to pay and gave the big boss a generous cash gift, thanking him for the small favor he'd just done. He had told Marcus that his father was indeed still cooking, but there was more than one chef in the kitchen now. That spicy beef dish wasn't made by his father at all. While the taste was similar, it wasn't the same. It was normal for Marcus to taste the difference. I wanted him to feel a sense of superiority from this, to feel that he was different now, while I was still remembering and cherishing our past. It would make it much easier for him to appear vulnerable to negotiate. After leaving, I went to a private investigator's office, the one I contacted last night. The information came through this afternoon, quite fast. He handed me an envelope with Brenda's details. 41 years old, married with a child, her son is 12. Her husband works in a factory in a nearby town. Besides that, the person she'd had the most contact with in the past 2 years was her younger brother, who also knew about Marcus. To be honest, I was still surprised to see this information. I knew Brenda's age, but she had told everyone at the company she was divorced, and she had a child, and most importantly, she wasn't even divorced yet. I asked the office manager if the information packet was real. He smugly gave me an okay gesture and said, "You can trust my work. Just give me the nod, and I can send it out for you immediately." I said, "No need. I didn't want this information to notify Marcus. On the contrary, I hope Brenda can keep her husband hidden recently, at least until I finalize the divorce." I said I had underestimated Brenda. I thought she wanted the mistress taking over, but it turned out to be a sophisticated scam. She had spent 2 years on Marcus, and now that success was within reach, she definitely wouldn't let anyone interfere. I circled the date on my calendar. 13 days until the divorce. When the 12 million arrived, I was busy with the coffee shop's soft opening. I had slightly changed the interior style and set up coupons, and the results were pretty good so far. My friend, knowing the money had arrived, asked if a lump sum payment wouldn't be a loss. I felt that doing business isn't always smooth sailing. There are various unexpected situations. Ups and downs are normal, and it's hard to guarantee how long it will last. A lump sum payment would be less hassle. Most importantly, I didn't want to have to contact him every month. My friend agreed, saying a bird in hand is worth 2 in the bush. Chloe also came here for coffee on her day off. She said Marcus had recently landed a big deal, and was busy with negotiations. Brenda was coming to work with designer bags, much quieter, clearly indicating Marcus was using bags to placate her. Brenda's patience, however, was for gaining more. These were the seeds Marcus sowed back then, and perhaps they would soon bear fruit. For example, that day at the restaurant, when Marcus and I were having dinner, I saw Brenda standing at the corner outside the window. That very night, she sent more revealing photos, brazenly showing half her face. I had already packed them all, ready to send them to her husband when I finalized the divorce. I organized the folder, and the doorbell rang. I got up and opened the door. Brenda had dyed and permed her hair, and was wearing lipstick in the same shade as mine. When the door opened, Brenda was like a different person, her eyes full of provocation. She said, "Ms. Miller, I'm sorry Mr. Parker's his passport fell here. I came to pick it up for him." She then tried to enter. I stopped her. "When Marcus and I finalized our divorce, he took his passport with him." Brenda said, "Maybe Mr. Parker misremembered. Ultimately, I just wanted to see you. Marcus doesn't know, but I do. You're playing hard to get, trying to reel him in." I asked, "Do you think by monitored my social media for 2 years, you understand me enough?" She covered her mouth and chuckled, pushed my hand away, and looked around the room. "I really thought you didn't care. Marcus just left, and you've already changed your style. What, afraid you'll be sad?" As she spoke, Leo was woken by the noise and called out, "Mom," asking if Dad was here. Brenda chuckled softly and said, "Leo, I'm Ms. Hayes. Your dad is in a meeting. He won't be back tonight, and maybe not tomorrow either." I clenched my fists, ignored Brenda, and rushed in to comfort Leo. When I went in, Leo was awake, his eyes wide with disappointment, looking a bit upset. I placated him by saying I'd take him to the amusement park tomorrow, and urged him to go to sleep early. When I came out, Brenda was still in the living room, leisurely drinking red wine. I knew what she wanted by coming in. In a few days, it would be Marcus's father's birthday. In previous years, we always attended together, and Marcus had called, asking if I could accompany him back once more this year. Brenda didn't want me to go. Marcus's hometown was remote, and his parents had moved to a small town a few years ago, but it was still quite a distance. Going there would bring back too many old memories, and she was afraid of things dragging on, so she just wanted to provoke me, so she'd have enough reason to whisper in Marcus's ear. Coincidentally, since the 20 million had arrived, I didn't know what excuse to use to refuse Marcus, so I slowly walked over. I lowered my gaze to her, then suddenly raised my hand and slapped her hard. Her face was knocked to the side, but she burst out laughing. "You're not so great after all, are you? All that indifference was just an act, wasn't it? How does it feel for someone high and mighty like you to have her man stolen by me? I grabbed the glass from her hand, grabbed her hair with one hand, and with the other hand covering her mouth, dragged her straight to the door. She struggled as I threw her out. Brenda angrily called me a shrew. As I rolled up my sleeves to charge at her, I took out my phone to record. She shot me a resentful look, picked up her bag from the floor, took out her phone, and tearfully called Marcus. I glanced at the date, calmly anticipating the end of this farce. 10 days until the divorce. Marcus's call came quickly. I could tell he was annoyed, trying to keep it in check. He asked me why I laid a hand on her. Even if Brenda was in the wrong, I could have just made her leave. Now that it had escalated, if Brenda was unwilling to settle privately, calling the police would complicate things. I laughed. Then let her call them. She was trespassing first and morally corrupt second. As a mistress, didn't she consider she might get hit before provoking me at my own home? She even verbally provoked Leo, implying you wouldn't have time to be with him. Marcus, Leo is my bottom line, and I hope he's yours too. Without waiting for Marcus to reply, I hung up directly and texted him, refusing to accompany him back to his hometown this time. I felt relieved. The private investigator's office called me then, saying Brenda had just called her husband and would offer him a sum of money to divorce. The two had scheduled to complete the paperwork next week. He's robbing Peter to pay Paul. Eventually, he won't be able to cover it. He's forcing Marcus to get married. The private investigator's manager sighed to me. This Brenda is an oddball. You say she lost her patience, yet she managed to circle Marcus for 2 years, trying to entrap him. That implies a lot of patience. Why did she have to cause trouble at this crucial moment? Then he continued to analyze. Perhaps she didn't feel a sense of crisis before. Their relationship was clandestine, which might have been thrilling. But now that it's time for her to take over, too many people better than her are appearing around Marcus. She's worried about being replaced, which is why she made a high-profile appearance. I took a sip of coffee. Maybe. From that day on, Brenda's burner account stopped sending messages. Chloe came to the shop for coffee and told me Brenda accompanied Marcus to his father's birthday as his secretary, and had been much more low-key since returning. It seemed Marcus had finally given in and made her a promise. Chloe asked me what I thought. I said, "It's good." Chloe gasped. "Grace, do you really think so? The mistress taking over?" I nodded. It's good that the jerk found his karma among everyone, isn't it? The coffee shop also finished its product and decor adjustments today and officially opened. I posted something on social media to record it and circled the date on my calendar. 5 days until the divorce. For the first 3 days after opening, I was busy until very late and barely checked my phone. While organizing messages, I saw Marcus's past congratulatory texts. I pressed delete. I had already scheduled the final divorce hearing. After a long while he texted back. "Do we need to talk more?" I replied, "Let's talk after we finalize the divorce." After a long pause, Marcus replied with okay. I continued. It was 10 a.m. The night outside was still, as if nothing had changed, but the decor inside the house was completely new. It was both an expectation and a heartfelt wish. I put all the photos Brenda had sent me into an envelope. 2 days until the divorce. On the day we were to finalize the divorce, I waited at the entrance for half an hour. Marcus arrived in a hurry. Brief pleasantries, processing paperwork, finalizing the divorce. Holding the divorce decree, Marcus looked a bit lost and disappointed, but quickly recovered and invited me to lunch. I said, "I have other things to do." After that, I didn't look at him again and left. I sent all the photos Brenda had sent me to her husband. Another month passed. Chloe came by and said that Marcus and I had finalized the divorce just a couple of days prior, and Brenda had posted on social media, with the caption, "Like a dream." 2 more months passed and Chloe came to see Grace Miller with a big bag of snacks. She told me she had originally planned to quit her job and comfort herself with binge eating, but now she didn't need to. Grace Miller served her coffee and asked what made her so happy. She said, "I finally don't have to be oppressed by Brenda anymore," bent over laughing as she spoke. Chloe continued, "Grace, you have no idea. Just last week, Brenda covertly announced she was going to get married to Mr. Parker. I had even written my resignation letter. But then this morning, office. He grabbed Brenda and started hitting her, cursing her and accusing her of having an affair. He also yelled, asking where Marcus was, calling her a mistress and saying she ruined a marriage. At first, some colleagues tried to intervene, but the man threw out a stack of photos. Utterly disgusting, honestly. After that, everyone else just awkwardly laughed it off, pretending to pull them apart. Marcus was in his office at the time, but didn't come out. Later, his secretary claimed the man had maliciously edited photos and had him removed. I saw someone follow him, probably to negotiate. From the looks of it, Marcus probably won't be getting married to Brenda now. He hates being lied to more than anything. Plus, with the mistress scandal, despite the uproar, office used as fodder for gossip. Marcus's image plummeted. Office's products and all his endorsement photos were taken down. To prevent the situation from escalating, he bribed Brenda's husband to apologize publicly and admit he spread rumors and edited photos. Office. Chloe heard she also got divorced. Her ex-husband received a large sum of money. He came to see his child a few times during that period. He looked tired and sometimes wanted to stay for dinner, but Grace Miller refused. She walked to the door, hesitated, as if wanting to say something. Then she said, "Is there any chance we could start over?" Grace Miller looked at her and slammed the door shut. Every time her friends called, they'd say they wanted to set her up with a boyfriend. Grace Miller politely declined a few times. For now, earning money felt more stable and reassuring. Oh, Grace Miller, you can't lose hope in love. It wasn't really disappointment. Grace Miller wasn't rejecting it, but she wasn't longing for it either. Not long after, a friend brought a very sophisticated man to Grace Miller's shop. He was gentle and polite. They simply got acquainted. Both Grace Miller and Daniel were too busy and often had no time to chat. Her friend was exasperated. "Grace," she exclaimed, "how can you not be moved by such a catch?" Grace Miller just smiled. "Too busy." Her friend sighed helplessly. Grace Miller lowered her head, calculating the costs of opening a new branch. Another 6 months passed. Grace Miller saw Daniel post photos of his marriage certificate. She quietly liked the post. Sure enough, his company's shop. The reason given was that his Grace. Major trouble brewed for Marcus. Rumor had it that Brenda, distraught, went to Marcus's office. At first, she calmly asked Marcus what he was having for lunch. Then suddenly, in front of the investors, she pulled out a knife from her bag, demanding to know when he would marry her. She then vandalized the office furniture, and investors ran for their lives. Chloe described the scene as absolutely insane. Marcus's face was livid with rage. In the end, Marcus called the police and had Brenda arrested. Just 2 days later, Brenda's brother showed up with a group of people, demanding an explanation from Marcus. Chloe heard Marcus temporarily settled it with money, but she guessed that given Brenda's brother's thuggish demeanor, there was no telling when it would end. After all, he got a taste of success. A few days after this incident, quite a few people resigned, mainly worried about getting caught in the crossfire later. Their lives were too important. Chloe was also looking for a new job. She said that after the incident, several companies. After seeing Chloe off, just before the shop closed, Marcus arrived. He was wearing a white shirt that was a bit wrinkled, smelled of alcohol. He looked disheveled. His voice was hoarse as he asked, "Could I get a glass of water?" Grace Miller had someone bring him a glass of water. Soon after, the shop closed. He followed Grace Miller all the way to her car. Once Grace Miller was in the car, he said he missed Leo and asked if he could ride with Grace Miller to see him. Grace Miller replied, "I'm sorry, he's at my mom's house today and won't be back anytime soon. You can see him according to the agreement." His face was pale. After a few light coughs, he quickly stopped Grace Miller. "Grace, I was wrong. I'm so sorry. I've been a terrible person. I'm sorry to you, and I'm sorry to Leo. Can you ever forgive me? If we can just start over, all assets can be put under your name." Grace Miller shook her head at Marcus. He stepped closer, gripped the car door, and started breathing heavily. "I swear, I promise, if there's ever a next time, I'll leave with nothing. Back then, I was really drunk and just overwhelmed by emotions. I felt life was too bland. When I suggested divorce, I never thought you'd agree so readily. I thought you'd blame me, call me foolish, say I was ungrateful for such a good life. But I truly love you. As for what you want to say." Grace Miller interrupted Marcus. "I have a lot to do. I don't have time for you. Whether you're looking for me to appease investors or you genuinely have some regrets, it doesn't matter to me. What matters is that you, to me, are permanently in the past." Marcus's face tightened, turning pale. He tried to speak, but Grace Miller impatiently cut him off. "Let's stop here. Anything more from me would be impolite. Private social media account." "Grace Miller," he pleaded. "I know you won't forgive me, but I swear to you, my first time with Brenda was truly an accident. This is my burner account. It records our life together for so many years, and even the affair later on." He kept scrolling through it. In the flickering light, Grace Miller could see numerous secretly photographed pictures of her from behind and messages expressing deep affection. This continued until he became frequently busy with work. Grace Miller turned her head away from him, preparing to drive. Marcus hastily tossed the phone into the car. After getting home, Grace Miller casually tossed his phone aside and went to wash up. When she came out, she saw Marcus's phone was still lit. It must have been set not to lock the screen. Grace Miller stared at the screen, reached out, turned it off directly, and threw the phone into the trash can. She sat down by the computer to plan the locations for new coffee branches. As for Grace Miller and Marcus, she only wished for no contact, no thoughts from now on, and no more wasted time with him.